All right, here we go. Podcasting time. Colin Thomas is here from Essential Maintenance, and WeWill FixIt Dubai. We are going to be talking DIY. Fixing stuff, maybe not fixing stuff, getting our heads around fixing stuff. And how's the summer planning going? Because the summer's kind of reversed here, which means we're closing off stuff. We're going to do a little bit of a revisit on, does Colin have to repaint that table that he chose not to repaint? How are the chairs holding up? How's the pergola holding up? And, the basics. And if you're in a part of the world where summer is where you suddenly go out and enjoy everything, this is also a chance to start inspecting that gear and figure out what's going on. So that's where we're going, right here on the WeWill FixIt podcast from the Roof Hotel. Colin, great to see you again.
That was a heck of an introduction. That goes straight into the top 5.
It was your face, though, as you started getting stuff going. I didn't read anything about that.
Yeah, well, I'm used to you now. After all these years, if there isn't a curveball, I don't know why I'm here.
I think that's what makes the show work.
Yeah, we roll that way.
Yeah,
and I like that. I also had to look down at my shirt to work out which brand I was wearing today, which turns out it is Essential Maintenance.
I think I'm going to go back and look at the videos. I think you always wear the Essential Maintenance shirt.
No, definitely not.
You sure? It's always the black one.
It's normally a black one, but
are they...
I have about 12 to 14 of my work shirts.
Yeah.
Of those, I think 3 are Essential Maintenance.
Oh, okay.
And it's normally random which one I get because I'm sure there are so many people out there that have the same scenario that I have, which is when you're dropping the kids off to school and with the dogs, that normally the run goes, so wake up, dogs, breakfast, shower, dress, out the door. Now, by the time you've got through kind of shower, you're always behind. So at that point, the idea of what shirt am I wearing is nothing to do with anything brand related. It's purely down to what's nearest and what can I see now.
So you don't have it set up like Batman where they're all just kind of on a mannequin and you just pull them off and throw them on.
Well, I've obviously asked Natalie whether she'd be so kind as to do that. And bizarrely, she told me where that could go sideways. Yeah, no idea why, James.
Coffee in the morning. Just a quick question. The Nespresso machine, you've got the mother of all Nespresso machines. Still working well?
I utterly adore it.
Yeah.
However, here's an interesting one. Today is the day.
We're not sponsored by Nespresso, although we wouldn't mind.
No, we'd like to be. I'll pay you, Nespresso. I absolutely adore your brand. And actually, everything they do in the UAE, I really adore as well.
And I think when they do sponsor us, Mr. Clooney should come by just to say, hey, guys, here's your Nespresso.
Well, we'll have to decide whether we allow him in.
He's got good hair, though.
He has got good hair. We'll give him that. All right, yeah, you can come. If you ask us nicely, George, it better be nicely. So let me tell you about this. So first of all, I was saying about their service, which is utterly immaculate at Nespresso. They do all the basics right. If you need to get an espresso machine serviced, 350 dirhams. That's it? Yeah. It doesn't matter if it needs spare parts or whatever. It's 350 dirhams.
Really?
Part of the brand promise, which I absolutely love. If you want to upgrade, you get 20 to 30% discount if you trade in your old against your new.
Okay.
Well, that means I'm going to go with those guys every single time. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So, and also, the other brilliant thing about their service is when they take yours in for service, you get a choice of the models that they will leave with you.
Get out of here.
Whilst they're servicing it for 350 dirhams. So that's how I ended up with this one. I'm like, don't suppose you got the top one, have you? Yes, we do. Great. I'll have that one. Brand new it was. And that was it. Utterly sold. 2 days later, I don't even want my old one back. You keep it. Yeah, just deliver the new one. And it's amazing. So I every single morning will not leave the house without a coffee. Now, limitations of the machine as well.
This is a good thing because there are, while Nespresso is an amazing machine, there are challenges.
Yes. So they've now got the Pro version of my one, which wasn't out when I got mine, which has 2 compressors rather than 1, which means you can do the milk and the coffee at the same time, which is awesome. You always want
2 compressors.
Yeah, but I haven't on mine. I've got the 1, so that makes it longer.
How long till you upgrade?
Well, see, I'm desperately trying to put it off because I do love my machine.
Okay.
But then equally, if you imagine we were talking about the process in the morning, so coffee comes at the same time, getting the coffee ready, which is always in, I have 3 of these, I think. and which always comes into the same type of thermos. By the way, my thermoses are amazing as well. Contigo, if anyone needs them for the kids, I moved over the kids to these, and oh my word, they are phenomenal.
There we go. So we've got Nespresso on board. We've got Contigo
we need
on
these
board.
guys, but it's their auto seal range that's absolutely amazing. It's the auto seal range that was absolutely amazing. To be fair, I drop it 3 times a day and it's absolutely fine. But what I love is this button on the back. So none of the straws that fail for the kids. And also, this goes through a dishwasher at high temperature every single day. No issues whatsoever. I absolutely love them. And this one, oh dear, are you ready for this one, James? This one came free with a Pajero. Natalie is absolutely disgusted by this, but it's fine by me. Obviously, it's been fully cleaned.
Your wife and my wife share a similarity here. We're going to get back to the Nespresso machine in a second. But I live by the shopping for thermoses by looking at the end of the year at the school lost and found and everything that hasn't been claimed.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the value you can get there because kids lose these things.
Yes.
And never come and get them.
No.
And all you got to do is clean it.
Yeah, well, that's my view as well.
And the wife kind of goes, oh, that's disgusting. I said, you clean it anyway.
Well, this is my first one about 3 years ago, I think. And we'd had another very well-known and expensive brand that was rubbish. I mean, they were constantly leaking in the kids' bags. And I thought there just has to be a better way. And then this one, which is not designed for heat officially, I think, has done 3 years of my coffees every morning without any problem whatsoever. So now I bought the kids one each, which has never failed since the start of the school year, and I'm sure we'll get a couple more years out of it. And I bought another 2. So it's they're absolutely amazing. I absolutely love them. Contigo.
Okay. Back to Nespresso. Yeah.
So the negatives of the Nespresso. First of all, we talked about the fact that I have one compressor, which takes some time. The other thing is that the steam one blocks quite frequently. Now, I had to do a really fast...
Off the wand or...?
Yeah, off the wand itself.
So
it does its cleaning. It does a cleaning cycle, but it doesn't really work particularly well. But then yesterday, I did a really quick unblock, which they give you the tool to be able to unblock it, which unfortunately is stored underneath the water tank. So the whole water tank has to come off to be able to get to it. So I did it really quickly yesterday, and with my eyesight, I obviously didn't do it very well because it reblocked today. So luckily I had time today. So did it properly and everything's absolutely fine again. So that's the second thing. The third thing, which I have previously commented on, and which happened again last week, thank goodness it's Ramadan and I've got more time on my hands, was I'm really sorry, but unfortunately you need to clean your Nespresso machine right now and do a full descale cycle.
That's a 15-minute job.
And we're not going to give you, well, here's the other thing. They say it's a 15-minute job. If you can do it in under 25, then you are a Formula One mechanic, because I am absolutely on it, and that's how long it takes. So that is a slight negative. However, the clean cycle, when it does happen, I think they give you like 2 more button presses from them showing it to when it goes. Now, Natalie will never tell me that it's due, and she does like an espresso through the day. So when I get there, you can guarantee I am done. Well, I'm not going anywhere without coffee. So, you know what? If it means a day off school for the kids, that's what we're looking at here. That is the level of priority that we have on coffee.
Oh, man.
So I wouldn't say that's ever actually happened. So maybe I'm a little bit more mouth than action. However, there are tiny little things that need to be improved on my amazing Nespresso machine before we get to the perfect panacea.
Okay, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it's very good. Very, very good.
Nice. Do you eat breakfast before you leave in the morning? I mean, this is just being nosy. Do you have
2 boiled eggs.
Every day?
Yeah.
That's it? Just...
Well, I had, if you remember Jack.
I do remember Jack.
Jack Foe, yeah. So Jack got me onto the fact I need a hell of a lot more protein in my diet, and that's worked generally pretty well. But what I find is, in the morning, I literally have like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I naturally eat way too much bread.
Yeah.
So instead, to go with the 2 boiled eggs works really well for me. And then when Natalie kind of explained to me, because I was worried about the cholesterol side of things, and then when she explained to me that all new studies suggest that actually it's good cholesterol that's coming out of eggs, I'm like, fine, well, that'll work for me. But then I food is my issue. So therefore, the calories will come through the day. just not at that initial breakfast time. So yeah, that's our role.
I want to jump into your other hobby.
Which one?
The Beetle Racing Club.
Oh my word! The Beetle Racing Club. Does that make me happy or what?
So we've been talking about this for over a year now.
Yeah, it's now almost. Well, actually, it's coming up to 2 years since I registered the Beetle.
Okay.
Because I'm
so
due
2 years
the
we've been talking about this.
Yeah, well, that would be. I think it was slightly after. Probably, I reckon we're coming up to 2 years of actual racing in about. Must be about like 2 months' time. However, we worked out that last night was our 19th track day.
Wow.
Which has been just amazing. And you'd have thought going round in circles on the same track would be extremely boring. But it so isn't, because the track is changing constantly. The car is changing constantly as it heats up and, various bits are falling off. And we donate on most weeks. We try and donate something plastic to the track gods.
Give us an update on, go back a little bit. What is this all about? What is this Beetle Racing all about? What are you doing?
So basically, a whole bunch of my mates own garages and are car nuts. That's kind of how we roll.
Right.
So we all wanted to do the Lemon series that was in the US, which is basically a 24-hour race that is for cars that at the time were under $500.
Uh-huh.
Now, these days, a little bit more safety focus means that isn't quite so strictly adhered to. But that's the kind of concept, which is really low-value racing. Now, the lowest thing that you can find in the UAE is Clio Cup, if you wanted a racing series. And that starts at 200,000 to get into it, dirhams.
Yikes.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we wanted something absolute Billy Basic. So the idea was to set up the Beetle Banger Club that we operate at track nights. So whilst we're not officially racing, we all have race boxes so that we can time every lap.
Okay.
And we know where we sit within our groups. Then there are teams of 4. Each person puts in 5,000 dirhams, which buys a car from the US, fixes the car, and normally gives you a little bit, or actually in most cases it gives enough for the first season's maintenance. So we've been doing this now, as I say, for almost 2 years.
How many cars do you have in the club?
We've got 8 currently.
Wow, that's...
Yeah, we need to get to 10 before we can even start on a new racing series. But bizarrely, we've ended up with some corporate teams as well. We have a team from TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, which actually, interesting. Well, it's individuals, actually. I have to be careful on this because they get a little bit careful on this. So it is all people that work or have worked at TikTok.
Okay.
Mind you, if TikTok will sponsor Wrexham Football Club in the UK, then surely they will sponsor my series. So we'll work on that one and see where we get to. So we've got those guys. We've obviously got us. We've got Glenn, the car guy, who also does a podcast with you with the Powerworks Garage. That one is coming back online again. We had a little bit of fun and games with with their car. But that one is coming back online now. We've got one of the main barbecue distributors. He's got a car here as well, Mr. Adel. We've got EBC Express, who decided to put a wrap on his car, which is when I say gold, I don't mean the gold color you see on cars. I mean gold.
Wow.
So it's now the golden nugget. The problem is, because it's so reflective, he now can't pass the RTA. So he's having to trailer it everywhere, which is utterly hilarious, and how James rolls. And it's just brilliant. Didn't tell anyone he was doing it, but it is quite a sight to behold. There are not 2 of them.
Okay.
So, and then we've got another garage as well. I Service Any Car is coming online. And then I'm going to buy back their second car as well, because they're not going to get around to racing 2 cars. So we'll free that one up for other people. But it's just, the idea is a bit of fun that is not alcohol related.
Yeah.
Because one of the issues that you have when you're kind of in your 40s is trying to just socialize with a bunch of similar minded people where there isn't kind of alcohol involved, but it's still a night time when we've got space, was proving quite difficult. So that's where this whole idea came from originally. And I after I've been Beetle racing, it's almost like I hit a zen for the rest of the week. And I just utterly adore it. It's so much fun and really something that we enjoy doing.
Tell me about the plastic you guys are leaving on the track.
Well, it's not necessarily on the track. Generally, there is a rule when you have an old car that is on a track, which is you need to leave some plastic to the track gods. So what this is if you imagine, we are throwing quite a lot of G-forces through a car, and we are going over the curbs at quite ridiculous speeds. To give you an idea, my little ancient Beetle will do 152 kilometres an hour down the main straight.
Wow.
Which is not really what it's designed for as a little shopping car, but we absolutely love it. So pretty much on every run, there will be a piece of trim inside the car or a little bit of bumper on the outside of the car that will be liberated. So last night we had the surround that goes around the speedometer came off at a corner when we were doing the most beautiful power slide, and all of a sudden that was around Dave's feet. So I'm quickly in his footwell pulling this out so he was able to hit the brakes again for the next corner. But that's all part of the course. We'll stick it back on and we'll donate it again at a later stage.
What age are these vehicles?
Mine's a 2000,
okay.
So 23 years old. It goes up to, actually, well, it could go up to 2010, but I think at the moment 2005 is probably the newest that we have.
Oh.
And, we have engines. I keep engines on the rack because they're the same as I use for the transporters that we have in the fleet. So they're 1,200 dirhams for an engine. And, brake pads, but they've proved to be ridiculously reliable. Once we get them fixed initially, because they need quite a lot of work initially, it's only really pads and discs and tyres that they really need.
What kind of tyres are you using?
Right now, I'm using a brand called Armstrong. I bought the closing stock of the distributor, as you do. So if you imagine, we can do about probably 7 or 8 track days on a set of tyres, which is pretty decent. And
that's really good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they are constantly squealing. You would not, and they are red hot by the time we're coming off the track. So, and I bought their closing stock at 132 dirhams a tyre, I think it was. Wow. So now, remember the shed?
Yeah.
Guess what's inside it? A lot of tyres. Yeah. So I'm using those at the moment. We've just swapped them over, but they tend to shred, which is if you're the edge between the sidewall and the main tread. That kind of shoulder, I think is the official term, when you are throwing a car around a corner on 3 wheels quite a lot, that's what tends to go. Right. So for that, we do need to change tyres, and that happens now and again.
Oh, nice. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it really is. I absolutely love it.
I think we're going to have to come and do a little podcast down there and just have a chat with everyone.
Oh, well, yes, we'll try to be as clean as we possibly can, but when you've got the adrenaline flowing, it does get quite adult in terms of the conversations that happen, especially like last night where a Porsche cut me up on the last corner.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but as I turned in, like way too late. I mean, I couldn't believe the move he made. Well, the expletives in the dash cam really do need deleting out before I send that anywhere, because that was quite a moment without a doubt. But I got a Lambo last night.
Wow.
I overtook a Lamborghini.
Wow.
If you imagine the scenario here, there's people bringing the most ridiculous machinery on track.
Yeah.
Well, they normally are big and heavy, which means on the main, and very powerful. On the main straight, we get murdered.
Of course.
But our track is the club circuit. It was the little one, which has loads of turns and lots of fiddly stuff. Well, our car is really light, and it is phenomenally quick through there. So what tends to happen is we get burnt off on the main straight, but by the time that we get into all the fiddly stuff again, we're right up their bums, which is highly entertaining when we've got a car that's worth 20 grand and they've got a car worth, well, a few million, let's put it that way. Yeah. Normally, they think we don't care because we've gone round the paddock saying, we don't care, we'll take all of you out. Because what they then do is move out of our way as we go screaming on through before we get overtaken on the main straight again. So yes, we claimed the scalp of a Lamborghini last night, and it was high fives all round when that happened.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I want to jump into summer preparedness, and we've had extensive conversations about your pergolas. You had a container at one point.
Yeah, back in the day.
You've had furniture that you stripped and then didn't recoat with stuff, and there was the white painting that was going to happen and never happened.
Oh, that's a whole different world.
Yeah. So I wanted to just sort of pick up really quickly on what's going on for summer preparedness and what's the state of all of these pieces.
It's probably worthwhile me lying at this point, but let's not. Okay, so the pergola, this pergola is aluminium, which is great because it doesn't need very much at all.
And it's holding up well.
It's holding up beautifully, yeah. The negative, though, is because of the slats on the roof, which are kind of like aerofoils.
Yeah.
Wasn't my choice, but we won't go there. So there was a bit of a design flaw initially, which was the sunlight came through the aerofoils that I was told categorically there's no chance of the sunlight coming through these aerofoils. I'm like, looking at that angle, it's definitely happening. She was having none of it. So, therefore, over the top of it, I needed to create a rattan frame.
Oh,
so
that sounds weird.
Well, no, sorry, not a rattan frame. It was come on, why am I struggling with this? So basically, it's a frame that goes over the top, and then I have used canes. How can I not do canes today?
All right.
So, you know the traditional fencing that you get that's kind of the cane, it's weaved together?
Yeah.
Well, I basically found the longest ones of those and then used it over a frame to basically block out that light.
Oh, it must look pretty cool.
Well, it did. But the problem is we also have a tree over the top that we are not allowed, and it's so obvious that before we did it, we should have lopped off the one branch that was there that was just not allowed to be lopped off for some unknown reason. So now we have a lot of leaves over the top of it, and the sand is kind of collected as well. And whenever you get rain, it drips through it. So it's not as cool as I would like for that part, but overall, that is not in a bad way. So that's fine. Now, the furniture. You will notice a standard theme that is coming through these whole discussions. So the previous furniture that I had there, so I will only buy teak.
Right.
For the simple reason that it lasts, it looks good, and you teak oil it every year, and away you go. So the last one, bought it for 5,000, used it for 6 years, sold it for 7.
Right.
And it was immaculate.
That was a great deal.
Yes, it was a great deal. I hope they went. I haven't heard back from them, so hopefully it all went okay. I did tell them it needed teak oiling on a yearly basis. I'm pretty sure they probably didn't do it. Now, the new set, when it arrived, had some kind of treatment on it, so slightly bigger. Natalie also said she didn't like the kind of yellowy, reddy glow that you get from teak oil as standard. So she wanted me to leave it until it kind of dulled down a bit. Well, it kind of dulled down. It's got a bit of mildew and various other bits and bobs. Yeah, I think it looks terrible. However, now, in fact, is not the time to be doing that, because if I did do that, I'm going to cover it for the summer anyway.
Right.
And if I did do that for the summer, then by the time I've teak oiled it, and the sanding is going to take a huge amount of time, I will get that degradation from the summer combined with it being new teak oil. It will probably stick to the cover anyway. So the timing's wrong. So my plan for that is an all-out approach, James. So what I'm going to do is, as you know, I've now got the mother of all pressure washers that will do a good job initially on that, and then I'm going to kind of use that, which should take off the bit of mildew that's in places. I'm then going to sand it straight after that.
So first you're going to pressure wash
so
you're going to do this right before you're going to start using it again.
Exactly.
So not at the end of the season.
No.
So right before, so you're going to pressure wash it first.
Pressure wash it.
Is there a danger with the mother of all pressure washes, because of the pressure, that you have to dial it back a little bit so that you're not...
I just use distance as being, so the position that I do, I start off further away than ideal, and I find a kind of sweet point based on what I'm working on as to where I need to be. So I'm going to use that first of all, then I will sand it. And again, random orbital for me is the way forward.
No, in the past, you've taken apart furniture.
I have taken apart. That didn't go well.
No, that took you a long time to get it back together.
Well, the other thing was, if I'm absolutely honest on that, I needed my dad's help when we decided to, and luckily, I kind of knew beforehand this could well go a bit south. So I'll wait until Dad's here and see what he thinks. Well, together, we actually did a really good job of it. But my goodness, it was fiddly.
So you're not going to take it apart this time?
Definitely not going to be taking them apart. So we'll get that will be that kind of sorted out. The big one at the moment is that the level of leaf drop that we've got. It's almost one side of the garden is just solid leaves.
It's that time of year.
Yeah. Our gardener, I think, is having not just a Ramadan-based scenario, but the initial words we had a couple of months ago, up your game here. You're slightly undervaluing the work that is required. Let's put it that way. But post-Ramadan and post-Eid, I think the conversation needs to be had a little bit more directly, because we've got lots of our plants that are kind of overgrown. And actually, the other problem is, as I kind of alluded to previously, Natalie is very much about having as much privacy as possible. And for her, that means not really touching anything in the garden that's growing. However, it is beyond overgrown. So we need to get that all trimmed back. We've got a tree that, again, not just the tree over the pergola, but another tree that needs a real going at. But again, I think doing that kind of stuff, and again, there are times where you're supposed to do pruning, aren't there?
Yeah.
Is it this time of year? You'd know that.
This is a good time of year.
Okay.
Or as we're going into the cooler months is also a good time to start thinking about that.
Well, I wonder, because I think probably if the leaves are going to continue to drop, that will create.
Well, this is that season where they lose all their leaves now before they get their new growth for the summer.
Okay, so I could be in trouble here. If I were to lop off a whole bunch now, then with the leaf drop, it's unlikely that the neighbours aren't going to have a little bit more visibility.
Yeah.
If the neighbours have a little bit more visibility, I'm getting shot.
Yeah.
So we'll have a think on that one and work out when the timing is to do all of that.
Yeah. So that sounds like things are working out. Now, quickly with the leaf drop. So you've got your furniture you're gonna deal with later.
Yeah.
You've got to clean it all up and re-oil it. With the leaf drop, how is your cement work looking? Are you getting lots of leaves and staining of the cement work, or are you? No.
I've got to say the cement work on the whole has been really good,
and that's all sealed too. You sealed all that.
It is sealed. That's sealed, and then also we've got a hell of a lot of granite as well.
Okay.
In various different, a couple of different styles actually, and all of that has just proved to be amazing. An unpolished granite, so quite a rough surface around the pool is in excellent shape.
And that's held up.
Yeah, it's held up really well. Again, what I probably will do is I've got the pressure washer out for doing the furniture. I think I'll pressure wash. Oh, actually, I'll just pressure wash everything. Anything in sight is getting pressure washed, because that's what you do as a dad, isn't it? You just pressure wash everything.
Yeah,
that's your job done.
Yeah.
So if only. So this is going to be my logic for when we come out of hibernation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's all coming
together. That's like 5 months away. Thinking about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're planning it now, because usually it's like 10 minutes before it's due. But at least the pool is sparkly again.
And if you've listened
Foss out 3XL. If you've got a green pool, ignore everybody. Don't just throw more chlorine in it. Foss out 3XL.
There we go.
Amazing. And you literally use 30 millilitres for a massive. Well, we've got 20,000 gallons, I think, in our pool.
Wow.
And it took 30 mils. I can't believe it. It's crystal.
Nice.
And that was before I cleaned it over this weekend. But before I cleaned it, it was crystal. I've got no idea what's in this stuff, but utterly incredible. So,
I'd like to see the when you do a backwash. I'd love to see the water coming out to see.
It was really bad when I backwashed it. Yeah. So I needed 3 minutes of backwash before it went clear.
Right.
And then the rinse off after that. So we lost quite a bit of water doing that, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
But I'm going to now backwash more often and just keep an eye on it for a while.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think I'm learning now. More than anything, I'm enjoying it.
Oh.
I really do enjoy doing the pool.
Okay.
So I'm going to see how I am through the summer. I think I'm just going to go early morning. So straight after the dog walk, I'll do that, I think. And,
you just have to keep up with it. I think that's the issue with pools. As soon as you let them get ahead of you.
Yes, you're done.
You're done.
Yeah. Well, I'm not now because I've got Foss out, which is very expensive. I mean, 170 dirhams for a small container, but it's absolute gold dust, this stuff. Really good.
That's also done so it forces you to keep up on the pool so you don't have to go buy more.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know now. Yeah. So next time it will be entirely my fault. And it's going to happen. We both know that.
What's going on at the shop these days? What are the big callers? I mean, we got AC, obviously. This is your bread and butter.
Of course. The big ones, actually, I think, is replace and maintain, which is the new units, new unit replacements.
Okay.
There's so many properties here that are getting to that 20-year mark now with the original ACs that have been repaired, and we're now getting lots of dual failures. Yeah. So whether it be a compressor and an outdoor fan motor or an evaporator and the fan motor going, there's a whole combination that you can get. But at that point, it gets to the stage of, is it worth investing this much in the unit rather than replacing it? Another one that's come out the woodwork that was a real surprise is when people are asking us to come to quote for replacement of units, it's often because they've already replaced one.
What?
And they've had a bad experience.
Oh.
And almost every time we can see why they've had a bad experience. So the fact that the insulation, a lot of the modern, I think we spoke about this last week, didn't we? About the fact that the location now of the metering device, which is the bit that makes the gas actually go cold, has often moved. Oh. So previously it was on the indoor unit, so inside, so the pipe going from the roof to there, to the inside unit, wasn't actually cold. It was later that the cooling happened, whereas now most of the units do it by the outdoor unit. However, the companies that don't really understand the entirety of what's going on aren't then insulating that pipe.
Okay.
So what actually happens is, first of all, any benefits you thought you were getting by getting a new AC completely evaporate on the basis that all of that has been lost on a pipe that is not insulated outside. And also, it goes down the central services shaft, which is a vertical shaft and a very, very cold pipe, which therefore gets condensation. And at the bottom of that pipe, all of that condensation will drip through your ceiling, which will kill your gypsum board.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know what you're doing, because you can get a cheaper price, because instead of technicians, you've just got labourers, you will not bother about that. Oh, don't worry, sir, we'll be here for you. Phone changed immediately after they've received the however much money that they receive, and away they go. So we're now going in as part, and it's happened on maybe four different occasions now, where as well as doing additional units, we rip out the pipework that was left over from the first unit that they did and do it right. So that way, everything is fine again. And for us, we found out that within the extreme environments, instead of using the traditional foam insulation, that if you wrap plaster of Paris around the pipes.
Plaster of Paris?
Yeah. That's how commercial units are done. If you do it that way, it will last forever. Yeah. So that's exactly what we're doing now.
Okay.
Now, customers aren't going to know this, and yes, it means more labour to be able to do that. But what it means is they've got a unit that is then future-proof, or as much as it can be.
Just as a side, are the boys making piñatas as well? Because now they're getting good with plaster of Paris.
Well, I think if we did make piñatas, there would be ones that you'd never get the sweets out of. We used explosives and we still can't open it. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those where there's only one way to do things, which is right.
Do it the right way.
And I just can't have, and it's something that literally I lose my rag over, which is my boys know now, if you cut a corner and we catch it, you're done for.
Yeah.
It would be,
and you'll eventually catch it. Like
something. Oh, we definitely will. So it will be, and then we go and back check. So if we find that a technician has done a certain cut on a job, first of all, they come in for a disciplinary with me. Secondly, they have retraining with our head technician. Thirdly, they go on probation. So therefore, without them knowing, we will assign them that same job once they've come out of the training and the probation, and we'll fit it into the schedule. Our head technician will then go back to the customer separately to recheck that work to find out, have they really learned what's going on or have they not?
Okay.
So that whole process means we will nip it in the bud as soon as we find out and make sure that we don't leave any legacy issues. But it does happen without a doubt. But for us, everybody knows now that I have a bee in my bonnet about some bodges, as you well know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I won't have it. Simple as that. There's only one way and it's right.
Had one of my own bodge jobs fail on me.
There's a surprise. Which one, James?
You'll notice in the notes, I came up with some cool stuff that I have to know. I'm really curious if it'll work. Metal epoxy, and I've never heard of metal epoxy, but I'm very interested in this. So I have a gate, and I have the mechanism, and it seems the screws over 23 years have, I guess you could get bigger screws, but it seems the bigger screws I'm going to need are too big for the hole in the door handle.
Is this the standard dual handle on either side, which has got the integrated spring in on a metal door? But the metal door, I don't think, is solid.
Yeah.
So it'll be, okay. No, you're in a whole world of pain here.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. There are different solutions. The problem that I have with the metal epoxy, now, it sounds
cool.
Yeah, it sounds cool. But also, if you imagine, if it's solid, you're creating a plug.
Right.
When you're creating a plug, it is when you then need to screw into it, the pressure goes outwards and it goes into the area. It's basically kept in that pressure by everything that's surrounding it. With yours, because it is square tube, apart from the millimeter that you've got at the entrance, you have no more support. So it will just, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that works particularly well. The bodge attempt would be to just keep packing it until you can't pack anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's more than a tube, to say the least. And it more likely than not, it will just go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third option would be if you are able to get some gauze or something similar to go into it to provide a backing behind it to create a plug.
Yeah.
That won't work. But you know what? At least it's got more thought behind it than just throwing it in there willy-nilly. So there is a couple of different aspects and possibilities to this. You could use a metal gypsum plug.
See, I was thinking about that.
Right. You need one which has got quite a coarse thread to thread it in, and you need one that is going to touch the back of the inside of the square, so that way, when you're talking into it, it's not going to go further.
And do those metal gypsum plugs come nice and small, or they're...
No.
Nah. Yeah.
So you probably need a little bit of bodgery to the back of that as well to make that feasible.
Okay.
So that's not great. But actually, the problem is the fixing itself, because it's got quite a coarse thread on it, needs to be quite a big fixing, even though the actual screw hole will normally take something like a standard picture hook drill. So you will probably need either to drill it out, which is feasible, and the other thing I would do with this is bodgery, which is not great. The other thing I would do this is the combination. So what I would do is first of all, I would drill it out to about, so that it's normally like one thread down.
Okay.
I would then use your metal epoxy on the thread. So I then use it on the thread. I would then screw it in, clean off around the epoxy, so that way I've got the maximum amount of adhesion. Those also come with a collar, if you remember, on the surface. Yeah. So I'm hoping that behind that collar, I'm going to get some of the metal epoxy as well. Okay. So that way, not just the inside of the actual bar, but that collar as well will give me some additional ability to hold that plug for anything longer than a minute and a half. The other thing you need to do is leave it, because that takes normally about 8 to 12 hours to cure.
Oh dear. Okay.
So it's a 2-day job to be able to get that to work. But I think that has legs.
Okay. I'm going to investigate.
That's my thought process.
I'm going to investigate more, because the last thing you want is these gates to fail.
Yeah. There's also Fisher. Fisher are the main brand for those kind of fixings. And there is a fantastic range in, is it Ace or is it SpeedX? SpeedX on Shickside Road. Probably your best place to look. Ace is just down the road, so if I've got it wrong, you haven't got far to go. Right. But one of those two has a really good Fisher range. Oh, it is Ace, It is Ace. Yeah. And it's Festival City.
Oh, there you go. It's right by the house.
Yeah, I would go there, and then but you need that steel epoxy with it to give it some extra.
See what they got.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't got much better than that.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but it's
fingers crossed.
Yeah. Anyway, it
is one of those bodge jobs. The other thing that you could potentially do is if you were to, I wonder how much metal you've got. Would you be able to just drill out the housing so that you could put bigger screws in it?
Maybe, possibly.
And if you imagine,
I do have to investigate how much larger a screw I could actually put in, because maybe I just need one size up and that'd be sorted.
Then you also need a countersunk screw, and true. Also aluminium screws are normally quite coarse. So you would need a countersunk, short, stubby screw.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite an ask. Again, actually, here's an odd one. Ace Hardware's a good bet for that as well. They've got their little the drawers where you buy by weight. That's such a great idea, by the way.
I love that.
So I do that just for stock, and I'll get like 4 or 5 bags of random, lots of different bits, just to have in stock for bits and bobs that
you always need that. It's it's when it's 10 o'clock at night and you're at home, and one of the things I've been stocking lately, and I don't know what's going on, is the fuses. At least we have fuses in plugs here. And that's not at least when I lived in Canada, that wasn't a common thing. In North American.
No, you're right. In North America, it isn't.
It's not common at all.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know why it's not common, but here it's really common.
Yeah.
And I've had a number of different, washing machine, a vacuum, where that fuse went. And
that normally happens when
a power surge or something.
No, a power surge should be taken out of the board.
Okay.
That is normally when, if it is an older appliance and the resistance is increased, and normally it's as you turn it on where you get the starting power, which is more than the running power, and an aging machine that has more resistance, and you could get that. Important things to remember with fuses, that the standard fuses that come with the plug are normally 13 amp.
Yeah.
Most of your appliances only need a 5 amp or even less. So trying to have those in stock is pretty key.
And keeping those things, I mean, I've now got quite a stack of them, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's 10 o'clock at night, right? And if you don't have those sitting in your toolkit, you're like, there's...
I know exactly where mine are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm certain that there are a whole bunch of us who don't have those. So get some. And they cost nothing.
Yes. It's true.
And
they're
it's
absolutely and available on Amazon, which is a really good option.
And what a lifesaver, because you flick it out. We had the vacuum didn't work. It's like, the vacuum's not working. It's like, really?
Yeah. And that'll be a 13 amp as well.
That was. So I got a whole case of 13 amps. It's perfect. Just replace, away we go. So that's nice.
It always makes sense to actually hold a couple of spare plugs as well.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how often you pull something out and there's a burn on the actual plug itself, and you shouldn't reuse those at all.
I want to share with you the steal that I've got. 23, and it's got to be more than 23 years. So I've lived here. This is going on my 24th year. At some point in the first 3 years, I borrowed a lawnmower off a colleague. And somewhere in that time period, they moved, and they just left it with me. And I don't know.
Was there any conversation that happened between? Do you mind if I borrow this?
There was. Mind if I borrow this? And they said, I think their what happened is their grass got taken out by their gardener, who at that point decided he would cover it all with sand for the summer, and then just take the sand off, but it killed it all. And they said, just hold on to it. And then they ended up leaving country because contracts expired. So it was probably within the first 3 years. So I don't know how old this lawnmower is, but it's got to be at least 25 years old. One of these cheap Razor electric lawnmowers that still runs like a charm.
Oh, don't you just love that?
And all I've had to do, I did have to get the motor fixed once.
Okay.
And this is when I'd borrowed it off them at one point. And
that's a bit inconsiderate of them to loan you a defective lawnmower.
No, this is before they left it with me. But I borrowed it off them, and the engine blew. And it was like, you've got to be joking me. No. So I took it to the university. This is the early days. And went to the maintenance guy, and I said, okay, here's the deal. I got this lawnmower. Engine's blown. What do I do? And he says, I'll get this redone for you. And he literally took it, and they rewound the motor.
Nice. Oh, no, not nice.
Well, no, they did it right.
Oh, they did it right.
Yeah,
They're the ones.
They did the right job.
Okay, so the issue with rewound motors, and again, we see this frequently for compressors and fan motors, is the rewinding quality here is normally terrible.
Yeah.
And it's a fire risk. So that's the reason why we don't recommend it, but I'm glad yours has been proved as legit as we're 20 years later.
And it's still living. And all I've replaced, and this is where the whole conversation of plugs comes in, is I've had to replace the plug a couple times.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I booted it up yesterday, just needed, I have a push mower that I typically use.
Yes.
But when I let it get out of control, I run this thing over it. Still living.
That's brilliant.
And these are not expensive lawnmowers.
Yes. I love that. But I love things that are made right.
Yeah.
We talk frequently about Nargiss's amazing ACs, where she keeps saying, shall I replace it? No, don't do it. These you repair. Utter brilliant general quality from, in fact, hers must be older than your than your place.
Mine are all Lennoxes, and the guys who come and do my AC stuff, they awesome. I've said the same thing to them. You think these things need to go? And they go, no, sir, keep the Lennox.
Absolutely.
These are great.
Yeah, they really are like the Mercedes of old that will just go forever.
Yeah.
The Toyota Land Cruiser of the AC world. I just love that stuff. It's really, really good. Just stuff that was made right before they started cost reducing everything and components and things like that. Yeah. It's definitely the right way.
So anyway, the lawnmower, awesome. Yeah. Anything else going on?
We have got. Oh yeah, we talked a little bit about plumbing last week, I think.
Yeah,
but,
we've had lots of plumbing talk.
Yeah, we've had quite a lot of varied jobs recently, which is always nice.
Is it because people are moving, or just stuff's failing, or?
There's a lot of move in at the moment and move out.
Right.
So if you imagine, it tends to be the way at the moment. It's all downsizing, unfortunately, with the prices that have gone skyrocketed.
Doesn't seem to be going down either.
I think 12 to 18 months. I'm hoping 12 to 18 months because that's how long I've got left on my contract.
You think 12 to 18 months, and then we're going to see a little bit of a dip as more properties come online?
I think there has to be a correction. But then when you think about it, there isn't much prime real estate that's left. We've got Tilal Al Gaff, which is 922, if I'm rightly, villas that's coming online. All along that corridor, which is the way to my work on from DIP, is getting built right now. But I would consider that to be kind of subprime. You know, the backside of Jumeirah Golf Estates, that kind of area, and it's built on a marsh, I've got to say. Seriously. I'm like, I wonder whether these people are going to know what that was. That was a lake 3 years ago. Yeah. So I don't think it's prime where a lot of the work has been done. There's more that's coming online at the moment on the Al Qudra corridor as well. Ranches 3 has just handed over.
I saw that.
Don't even start me on why they called it Ranches 3. It's got nothing to do with the ranches whatsoever. That's a mirror oasis if ever I saw it.
Yeah.
And I just find that ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not open that conversation. But there we go, how to destroy a brand. So all these areas are available, but it tends to be kind of the mid to low range that is very much being developed right now.
Okay.
So which I think is kind of fitting considering that most people are downsizing at the moment.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see kind of how that develops. The ranches is galloping, and that's a worry because that's where I live. So luckily, a long contract, amazing landlord. I just hope that we don't have to move out. I mean, we've been there since 2008, and I think Natalie would prefer to get rid of me than to get rid of the ranches. So it's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah. On that note, you know what? It's time to say thank you very much, Colin, and we'll do it all again really, really soon. Colin Thomas, Essential Maintenance, WeWill FixIt Dubai. You're listening to this, you're watching us, like us, share the link, and get in touch. If you want to share something, put it in the comments. Got a question, got a query, got something you want to talk about, let us know. We'll talk about it. Colin, thank you.
Always a pleasure.